One of my all-time favorite board game mechanisms is the tug-of-war. In Watergate, players struggle to find or conceal evidence. In Seven Wonders Duel, you will fight for military dominance. And in tug-of-war, you try to win an abstracted version of tug-of-war. This is Tug-of-War, a game with the best artwork you are ever gonna see. That's right. These guys are peeing. Give me a break. It's just a prototype. The game here is very simple. Every match starts the same, with 3 team members set up on opposite sides of the board, ready to yank. At the back of each team is the anchor, whose goal is to keep their crew planted. At the front is the leader, issuing commands and guiding the flow of the match. And in the middle, we've got the specialist, the team member focused on their team's strategy, whatever that is. That's right. Each team has a different archetype. There are the bruisers. They just want to yank ya. The brainiacs. They want to know your plans before they make theirs. The vipers. They want to wear you down so they can strike. And the cheaters. They want to win whatever it takes. There are also the dancers and the mystics in my big Google Doc for this game, but they don't have prototype cards yet. Sorry guys. Every team has 9 unique cards, 3 for each team member. So typically 3 defensive focused cards for the anchor, 3 typically offensive focused cards for the leader, and 3 faction focused cards for the specialist. Then every team has 1 regroup card that lets you shuffle your discard pile into your deck and play on, plus a one-time use special ability for their faction. Here is a round. Both players choose a card from their hand of 3 and play it face down. Players simultaneously reveal their cards. Any immediate effects happen now. A round is won or lost based on the total energy value of the cards played. In this case, the Bruisers would win this round with their 3 energy cost card compared to the Brainiac's 2 energy cost card. Any win, loss, or tie effects would happen now. The Brainiacs were hoping to tie, and they did not, so nothing good happens for them. The Bruisers were hoping to win or lose, and they did win, so we would process their win effect. Move each of your opponent's team members 1 space in your direction. The loser then moves the marker on the energy track equal to the difference in energy values played that round. The Bruisers played 3, the Brainiacs played 2. The difference there is 1, so the Brainiacs would gain 1 energy. All played cards are discarded, both players draw back up to 3 cards in hand, and a new round begins. Now, I know what you're thinking. What do you do with that energy? Well, let's look at the second round. Both players choose their cards, reveal, and rats. The Brainiacs wanted to win, but the Bruisers and Brainiacs have both played cards with the same energy value, and that's what's called a tie. But wait! Not so fast. The Brainiacs have the energy marker on their side. They can modify the power of their card by spending energy, thus turning a 4 into a 5, and 5 is more than 4. Boom! The Brainiacs just won this round. And that's the game. Play goes back and forth until one team pulls the opposing leader into this space and thus wins the tug of war. Now, if it isn't already abundantly clear, I designed this game. I just realized I hadn't actually said that aloud yet. So yeah, this was me. Hi, I'm Ben. I made a video a while ago about a game I made called Grave Decision, a game that had some cool ideas but was ultimately too flawed to work. Tug-of-War, sure, there are things that I think could work better, but overall, I'm actually pretty happy with the results here. But let's talk about the things that don't work so well first. The biggest issue I've got is with the balance of the game. Not that one faction in particular feels too strong. It's actually kind of the opposite. It's more that the factions are so balanced that the game can get a little long and stalemate-y. Yarr. I think because the decks are so small and there is such a clear singular goal, there isn't quite enough variance here to allow for big, explosive plays. I have seen quite a few games where both teams have a fairly equivalent push and pull, and both sides stay largely in the same place. To understand how this plays out, I think we should look a little bit more closely at these 2 factions. The Bruisers are super straightforward. They're kind of designed to be an introductory faction. They have cards like Heave, that lets you pull all opposing team members one space towards your side if you won or lost this round, and then they have a card that lets you find Heave in your discard pile to either play it again immediately or save it for a later turn. Very clearly meant to just brute force it and overpower the other team. Then you have the Brainiacs, and their game plan revolves around moving your leader toward the other team in order to create a gap between your leader and your specialist. Now, obviously this is super risky because only your leader needs to end up in that middle space for you to lose. However, if the Brainiacs can set it up right with the setup card, haha, very funny choice, designer, good job, then they can play the payoff card, which lets them move their specialist adjacent to their anchor and finally their leader adjacent to their specialist, and then pull the other team equal to the number of spaces that their leader moved, which I have never seen be more than 2, but hypothetically it could be, and that would be freaking crazy. That would be so cool, and it would yank the other team so far, and they would scream and cry, and probably pee their pants even, a little bit. Clearly, the Brainiacs and the Bruisers play differently, but also, you're trying to do the same thing at the end of the day. Like, even if you're going about it in different ways, it's all about pulling the other guys toward you. A very normal game might see both you and your opponent playing some aggressive cards to start, having some successes at pulling the other team closer to that scary middle area, and when things are looking a little bit dire and you're starting to sweat, you're gonna drop an anchor card and try to move your guys back to your side. But both sides are doing that, right? So the game gets interesting when the rhythm is thrown off, when one side wants to be defensive but doesn't draw the card that they needed and so has to stay on the offense when the other team expects them to be more cautious. If I was going to really develop this game, I think the area that needs the most massaging is the beginning of the game, something to more quickly throw off that balance. I've thought about starting both sides one space closer to the middle, but those games ended a little bit more quickly than I would have liked. Maybe starting on the same space, but reducing the number of defensive anchor cards on each team, or keeping the number of defensive anchor cards the same, but adding one more offensive card to each team to shake up the ratio. The most recent thought I've had is adding one other element to the game. What? I don't know at all. But I think that adding something else to track and play for would get this game off kilter in the way that I'm looking for. The energy track does add a slight wrinkle. You'll notice these arrows here on the ends. That means that if either player would gain more than 5 energy, instead, all team members on both teams shift one space in their direction, and then you reset the energy track to 0. But even with the energy track, it still feels a little bit too light, a little bit too much like there is usually a best play on any given turn. Anyway, what does work? Well, I think once you get through the first couple rounds, the game is pretty fun. It's just a good time. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's straightforward. I think the different factions are a nice level of goofy, but interesting enough to want to try them out. So, yay. It's definitely not a groundbreaking design, and it's not going to be your whole game night, but I think it's got a good fillery vibe, and I do love some tugging. So what do you think? Would you play Tug of War, or whatever this game would be called if I could think of a good name for it? And should I keep refining it, or should I kick it to the curb? And now, you can go. I'm finished. Please like the video before you leave, because I like you. And it would be rude to hear me say that and then not reciprocate by liking the video. And you don't want to be rude, because I'll tell your mom. I'll tell her. Cindy, do you see what your child is doing? Okay, bye.